Comprehension questions for Year 3. Daddy Fell into the Pond by Alfred Noyes. I've read the text. I'm going to answer the questions, but keep my eyes on the text because that's where I'm going to get my answers from. Number 1. Do you think people are enjoying themselves in lines 1 to 4? Looking at lines 1 to 4, clearly they're not. It says, everyone grumbled. That suggests they're not having a nice time if they're moaning. The sky was grey, the weather wasn't good, so that probably didn't make them feel good. We had nothing to do and nothing to say. Again, very negative things. We were nearing the end of a dismal day. Dismal means miserable or dreary. So again, if you're thinking of the day as dismal, it's because you weren't enjoying yourselves. So I'm going to say, no, they weren't enjoying themselves, but it does say explain your answer. So I need to give particular examples from the text showing how I arrived at that decision. So I'm going to say they weren't enjoying themselves because they were grumbling or moaning. It was a miserable day because the weather was bad and the sky was grey. They didn't have anything to do and they didn't have anything to say to each other. And the day is described as dismal, which means miserable. Number 2, why do you think the word nothing is repeated in line 2? We had nothing to do, nothing to say. That shows that that word nothing was an important one, and it's a way of the author stressing just how totally boring the whole thing was. We had nothing to do, nothing to say. So repetition can be quite useful sometimes in writing. So my answer to why I think the word nothing is repeated, it was because the author wanted to show how boring things were. There was absolutely nothing to do or say. Number 3, why do you think the poet put then in capitals and on a separate line in line 5? Well, here's line 5. Yes, it's all on its own and in capital letters. That shows that there's obviously a change coming in the poem somewhere. There seemed to be nothing beyond, so all these first 4 lines are talking about it being dreadfully boring. Then, that's a bit of a dun 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 moment. Daddy fell into the pond. There was a big change because something exciting did happen. So the author used the word then to show that something important and something very different was about to happen. Number 4, what does click in line 11 refer to? I'll look at line 11. Yep, it says click, and I'll read around it. He's crawling out of the duckweed just before it, and the gardener suddenly slapped his knee after it. None of those seem to be related to the word click, so I might just read a bit more widely. I'll go back a bit further. Give me the camera, quick, oh quick. Camera, that means somebody's about to take a photograph. When you take a photograph, you hear a click noise, so that's what it refers to, probably. So I'll say the click in line 11 refers to a photograph being taken and making a noise. Number 5, how do you think the gardener felt when Daddy fell into the pond? How can you tell? That's very important because it wouldn't be enough for me to write the gardener felt sorry or the gardener felt annoyed or the gardener felt surprised. Whatever I decide, I've got to show that I've got reasons for making that choice. I've got to provide some evidence. I'll go back to the bit where the gardener is. I'll look for gardener in the text. Right, that would be a good place to stop. Then the gardener suddenly slapped his knee and doubled up, shaking silently. That's the kind of thing you do when you've suddenly found something amusing, isn't it? Slap your knee in a very jovial manner. To double up shaking suggests that he's laughing. So I think the gardener felt amused or felt that it was funny. So I'm going to say, I think the gardener felt amused because he slapped his knee and he started to laugh because he doubled up and shook. Number 6, which 2 words does the poet use to rhyme with pond? Rhyme means that the end of the words sound the same. So I'm looking for words that have an ond at the end. I don't want to mix that up with alliteration. That's where the letter at the beginning of the word is the same. So I'll read through again, looking for things that have an OND sound at the end, and with any luck, they will hopefully end with an OND letter group. Grumbles. So again, I'm skim reading. I'm looking for that OND. Beyond. When I say it out loud, I can hear the OND that rhymes with pond. But the question does say there are 2 words, so I need to keep going and find the second one. Respond. Yep, it has the OND ending, and when I said it out loud, I could hear the OND sound, which rhymed with pond. So the 2 words that rhyme with pond are beyond and respond. Number 7. Describe how you think you would react if you saw someone fall into a pond. That sounds like it's a little bit of free writing, but I'm going to remember that I'm doing a reading comprehension, and when I answer this, I want to show that I've read and understood the text, and I can use that to help me with my answers. So I'm not going to say I would react by running home and fetching a towel. I'm going to refer to things I've already heard done in the poem. So I might say, I would not start to laugh. I would not take a photograph. I would help the person out of the pond and make sure they were all right. So I've said what I thought I would do, but I've also said what I wouldn't do, because those are the things which happened in the poem. So I'm contrasting what I'm doing with what I know happened in the poem. So my answer would be, I wouldn't take a photograph or start to laugh. I would help the person out of the pond and make sure they were all right. And that's them all done.